The fireplace in Ayla Green's living room was massive, a cavern of stone large enough to roast a whole pig, but the air conditioning was cranked so low I could see the condensation weeping down the side of my water glass. It was Hollywood winter, 70 degrees outside, Arctic inside. Ayla stood in the center of the Persian rug, holding a heavy brass candlestick like a bludgeon. She wasn't looking at me. She was looking through me. Her pupils dilated, her chest rising and falling in a rhythm of genuine, terrified hyperventilation. The silence in the room was heavy, expensive, and suffocating. "Put the gun down," she whispered, her voice cracking perfectly on the last word. A tear, singular and photogenic, tracked down her cheek. I sat on the plush velvet sofa, my laptop balanced precariously on my knees, and sighed. I rubbed the bridge of my nose, feeling the onset of a caffeine headache. "Ayla, I'm typing as fast as I can, but for the third time, the character in Chapter 3 doesn't have a gun. He has a subpoena. It's a legal thriller, not a Western." She blinked. The terror vanished instantly, snapped off like a light switch, replaced by the sharp, analytical gaze of a woman who had won 2 Oscars before I'd finished my grad school thesis. She lowered the candlestick, the brass clinking softly as she set it on a coaster. "A subpoena isn't visual, Evan," she said, her voice dropping into her natural register lower, raspier, more commanding. She walked over to the coffee table and adjusted a stack of art books, aligning their edges with military precision. "We need stakes. If I'm going to write this thriller, I need to feel the fear in my body. I need to act it out. If my pulse doesn't race, the readers won't either." "You hired me to ghostwrite a memoir," I reminded her, tapping the delete key on a paragraph that had gone wildly off the rails. "Then you changed it to a legal thriller. Now we're doing armed robbery? My editor at the Chronicle thinks I'm on sabbatical writing a history of the Napa Valley. If he knew I was role-playing Die Hard in the Hills, I'd be back on the obituary desk. We're finding the emotional truth." She turned to me, and for a second, I saw the crack in the armor. It wasn't the acted fear from a moment ago. It was exhaustion, deep, bone-level weariness that makeup couldn't hide. If I can't feel it, I can't sell it. Write the scene again, make the stakes higher. I looked at the blank page. I wasn't a novelist. I was an investigative journalist. I spent my days chasing corruption trails, parsing through city council meeting minutes, and verifying sources who were usually too scared to talk. But print journalism was a dying beast. And I had bills that didn't care about my Pulitzer aspirations. I knew a guy, an agent named Gary, who said Ayla Green needed a discreet pen for a vanity project. "Easy money," he said. "Just listen and type." I didn't expect this. A fortress of a house, a temperature set to preserve a corpse, and a woman who wore her fame like a lead coat she was desperate to take off but didn't know how to unzip. "Stakes," I muttered, resigned. "Okay, let's try this." The antagonist isn't holding a gun. He's holding a phone, and he's about to hit send on a file that destroys her career. No noise, no blood, just a click, and her life is over. The room went dead silent. The hum of the massive sub-zero refrigerator in the kitchen down the hall suddenly sounded like a jet engine. Ayla froze. Her hand hovered over the silver tea service. It wasn't the acting freeze. This was rigid, biological. Her trapezius muscles bunched up toward her ears, a defensive posture I'd seen in whistleblowers right before they decided to bolt. "Why would you write that?" she asked, her voice flat, devoid of the theatricality from before. "Because it's a modern thriller," I said, watching her carefully. I wasn't looking at the actress now, I was looking at the subject. Guns are messy. Information is lethal. That's the world I work in. The scariest thing isn't a bullet. It's a secret. She turned away, fussing with the tea tray, the china clinking too loudly. "No. That's too cliché. Let's stick to the subpoena." She was lying. I'd interviewed enough politicians and corporate fraudsters to know the tell. It was in the shoulders, the sudden avoidance of eye contact, the unnecessary busyness of the hands. Ayla Green wasn't scared of a fictional gunman. She was scared of a digital file. I didn't push. I just made a mental note, saved the document, and decided that before we wrote another word, I needed to make a few calls. The threat arrived 3 days later, not in the fiction we were writing, but in the notifications on her phone. We were working in the library this time. It was a beautiful room, lined with first editions that looked like they'd never been opened, smelling of lemon polish and old paper. The sun was setting, casting long, bruised shadows across the floor. I had just finished drafting a scene where the protagonist navigates a corrupt police precinct. Easy writing for me, mostly muscle memory from my beat reporting days when Ayla's phone buzzed on the mahogany table. It was a single, aggressive vibration. She glanced at it, and the color drained from her face so fast I thought she might faint. She didn't scream. She didn't throw the phone. She just placed it face down, very carefully, as if it were an unexploded ordnance that would detonate with the slightest motion. "We're done for today," she said. Her voice was brittle. "We have an hour left in the session," I said, not moving. "And we haven't cracked the dialogue for the DA yet. Evan, please, just go." I looked at the phone, then at her. I saw the tremor in her hands, the way she was gripping the edge of the table until her knuckles turned white. "Is it Julian?" She flinched, physically recoiling as if I'd slapped her. "How do you know that name?" "I'm an investigative journalist, Ayla. I do my homework." "You dated Julian Thorne for 3 years. He directed your last 2 films. You broke up 6 months ago?" The press release said, "amicable." "The court records for the restraining order you drafted but never filed say otherwise." She stared at me, her defenses scrambling to rebuild the wall I just walked through. "You dug into my life?" I vetted my client. "It's safety protocol. I have sources in the courthouse clerk's office. I know a guy who processes the filings. He told me the draft was pulled at the last minute." I closed my laptop, the soft click echoing in the large room. "What did he send you?" She walked to the window, wrapping her arms around herself. It was a vulnerable posture, one that made her look smaller than the screen legend on the posters in the hallway. A screenshot from a video, a private video, from when we were happy, or when I thought we were. What does he want? He wants me to sign on for his new project. The Glass Tower. The script is garbage, the schedule is brutal, and I promised myself I'd never work with him again. He creates environments that are unsafe. She leaned her forehead against the cool glass. "If I don't sign by Friday, he leaks the video to a gossip site. He says it'll be framed as a hack, but the damage will be done." I felt that familiar cold anger in my chest, the kind that usually fueled my exposés on corrupt city officials. This was blackmail, plain and simple. But Ayla wasn't a councilman. She was a woman trapped in a high-stakes cage, surrounded by people on his payroll. "Don't sign it," I said. "You don't understand, Evan. The internet is forever. My reputation. I have morals clauses in my endorsements. I have a family who thinks I'm a saint. This destroys everything. Your reputation is built on talent. His leverage is built on a crime." I stood up and walked over to her, stopping a respectful 3 feet away. I didn't try to touch her. I put my hands in my pockets to ensure I didn't. I handle leaks for a living. I know how these guys operate. They bank on shame and silence. They count on you being too embarrassed to fight back. She turned to face me. Her eyes were red-rimmed. "He has the only copy. It's on his private server. Unless you're Spider-Man, you can't get it." "I'm not Spider-Man," I said, my voice dropping to that calm, low register I used when a source was panicking. "But I know a guy who works in digital forensics. Marcus. He owes me a favor because I kept his name out of a federal indictment last year. And I know another guy who specializes in reputation management for high-net-worth individuals. We don't need to steal the video. We just need to make the cost of releasing it higher than the benefit he gets from your signature." "You're a writer," she whispered, searching my face for a lie. "I'm a reporter," I corrected. "We fix things with sunlight. Let me handle this." She looked at me for a long, silent minute. She was weighing the risk, trusting a man she'd known for a week against a man who had controlled her for years. "Okay," she breathed, "but if this goes wrong, I lose everything." "It won't go wrong. I won't let it." The acting out sessions changed after that. They weren't just exercises anymore. They became strategy meetings disguised as rehearsals. Ayla needed to feel safe, and oddly, the structure of the novel gave her that. We wrote a protagonist who was cornered, who fought back. It was therapy without the couch. I stepped out to the patio to make the call. The Hollywood Hills air smelled of jasmine and car exhaust. "Evan," Marcus answered on the second ring. "You only call when something is on fire or when you need a miracle." "Bit of both, Marcus." I need a trace on a metadata tag. Sent via secure. Message. Who's the target? Julian Thorne. A low whistle on the other end. The director? Evan. You're playing in the big leagues. This guy has lawyers who eat journalists for breakfast. Does your editor know you're doing this? Ben thinks I'm writing about grapes, I said, glancing back at the house where Ayla was pacing. What's the price, Marcus? I don't need money. I need an introduction. The new crypto fraud piece you're working on? I want exclusive first look at the technical specs before you publish. For my portfolio. Done. Just get me the path on that file. Inside, Ayla was staring at the blank screen. I walked in, poured her a fresh cup of coffee black, 2 ice cubes, just how she liked it, and set it down without a word. She looked up, surprised. Anticipatory care, she murmured. My assistant doesn't even remember the ice cubes. Your assistant is afraid of you. I'm not. Maybe you should be. I've been threatened by the mob in Jersey. Ayla, a movie star doesn't scare me. She just intrigues me. I sat down and opened my laptop. I need access to your email headers. Just the one from Julian. I'm going to map the route. We worked in silence for an hour. It was companionable, a rare thing for me. Usually, my work was solitary confinement. But here, with the rain starting to tap against the glass, there was a rhythm. She wrote a paragraph, read it aloud, acted out the gesture. I corrected the pacing, tightened the dialogue. Then the power flickered and died. The massive house plunged into gray silence. Ayla gasped from the kitchen. I was there in 10 seconds, using the flashlight on my phone to cut through the gloom. She was standing by the island, gripping the marble counter, her knuckles white. Just a fuse, probably, I said, keeping the beam pointed at the floor so I wouldn't blind her. Or a transformer down the road. Storm's pretty bad. I hate the dark, she admitted. Her voice small. It feels exposing. Like the camera is off, but everyone is still watching. Stay here. I went to the utility closet. I'd memorized the layout of the house on day one, a habit from years of entering places I might need to leave in a hurry, and found the emergency lantern. I brought it back, setting it on the island. The warm yellow glow pushed the shadows back, creating a small circle of safety in the cavernous kitchen. Then, I did something I hadn't planned. I took my phone, silenced it, and placed it face down on the counter. A deliberate disconnection from the outside world. I'm right here, I said. I'm not going anywhere until the lights come back. She looked at the phone, then at me. It was a small gesture. But in her world, where everyone was constantly checking screens for the next headline or the next deal, it mattered. You're missing calls, she said. Nothing important. My publicist, Sarah, says you're a liability. She says journalists always sell the story eventually. Sarah is paid to be paranoid. I'm paid to find the truth. And the truth is, you're being bullied. And I hate bullies. I leaned against the counter, crossing my arms. Tell me about the book. Chapter 7. Why does the heroine refuse the settlement? She relaxed, her shoulders dropping an inch. Because, she said, her eyes catching the lantern light, she realizes that money doesn't buy peace. Only truth does. If she takes the money, she's renting her silence. She wants to own her voice. Good line, I said softly. We should use that. We stood there in the kitchen, discussing plot points while the rain hammered against the glass. It was the most domestic moment I'd had in years. The smell of the rain, the warmth of the lantern, the way her hair fell across her face. I wanted to reach out and tuck a loose strand behind her ear, but I kept my hands firmly anchored on the edge of the granite counter. Restraint was the only currency I had that she couldn't buy. The escalation hit on Friday morning. I arrived at the gate to find 3 paparazzi vans parked on the shoulder. They weren't aggressive yet, just waiting. A blind item had dropped on a popular gossip blog. Which award-winning darling is being blackmailed by a former flame? Juicy details coming soon. Julian was tightening the screws. He was priming the market. Inside, Sarah, the publicist, was pacing the living room, barking into a headset, looking like she was about to explode. Ayla was sitting on the sofa, staring at nothing, looking pale and defeated. He leaked a teaser, Ayla said when I walked in. Sarah says we should issue a denial. No, I said, dropping my bag. A denial validates the rumor. It gives it oxygen. It tells him we're scared. Sarah spun around, covering her mic. And who are you? The typist? Stick to the adjectives, Evan. This is crisis management. I'm the guy who knows how to kill a story, I said, my voice cutting through her frantic energy. If you deny it, the headline tomorrow is Ayla Green denies tape exists. That links her name to the words tape and sex. It's a losing game. You're playing checkers. Julian is playing chess. Then what do we do? Sarah demanded. We pivot. I looked at Ayla. We need to control the information. Julian is betting on your silence. We need to show him we're ready to be loud. But not to the public. To his wallet. I opened my laptop. Marcus came through. The screenshot Julian sent? It has metadata tags. It wasn't just stored on a private server. It was uploaded to a shared cloud drive associated with his production company, Thorne Media. That means it's not personal property anymore. It's corporate data. Ayla frowned. So? What does that change? Everything, I said, typing a quick email to a contact I had in the insurance industry, a guy who assessed risk for film bonds. If he releases it, he's not just violating revenge porn laws, which are hard to enforce quickly. He's violating the corporate bylaws of his own company by using company assets for illegal extortion. His investors would drop him in a heartbeat. The glass tower needs insurance bonds. No insurer will bond a producer who is actively committing felonies on company servers. Ayla stood up. You can prove it's on the company drive? Marcus already downloaded the directory log. We have the receipts. Time, date, IP address. I turned the laptop to show her. A complex list of file paths and timestamps. It was Greek to her, but to me, it was ammunition. We draft a letter, I said, not from a lawyer. From an insurance risk assessor. I know a guy who consults for the bonding agency Julian uses. We send Julian a risk notification, stating that irregularities have been found in his data management that could void his production insurance. Ayla's eyes widened. A slow smile, sharp and dangerous, touched her lips. He can't make the movie without the bond. Exactly. We don't threaten him with a scandal. We threaten his money. And we do it quietly, so he knows we have the power to destroy him without ever saying a word to the press. Sarah lowered her phone, looking at me with grudging respect. That's actually brilliant. I know, I said. Now, Ayla, I need you to act out a scene. I need you to call him. But you're not the victim. You're the CEO of Ayla Green Incorporated. You're bored. You're disappointed. Method acting, she whispered. Survival acting, I corrected. The call happened an hour later. I stood in the corner of the room, listening. Sarah was banished to the kitchen to keep the background noise pure. It was just me and Ayla. She put the phone on speaker, but kept the volume low. Julian, she said. Her voice was cool, detached. Perfect. Tick-tock. Ayla, Julian's voice oozed through the speaker. Contract is on your email. Sign it, and the files disappear. I'm not signing, Julian. And frankly, I'm worried about you. Worried? My consultant just sent over a fascinating report about your server security. Did you know that keeping personal blackmail material on a Thorne Media shared drive is a violation of your fiduciary duty to your partners? Silence on the line. I'd hate for the insurance adjusters to see that file directory, she continued, examining her fingernails. They might pull the bond for the glass tower. And then where would you be? No movie. No investors. Just a lawsuit from your own board. You're bluffing, he snapped. Check your email, she said. I just forwarded you the log. She hung up. She stared at the phone. Her chest was heaving. The cool facade cracked, and she let out a shaky breath. Did I do it? She asked. You were perfect, I said. He's reading that email right now. He's sweating. The relief in the room was palpable. But we weren't done. This was a delay tactic. It bought us time, but it didn't remove the file. He's going to scrub the server, I said. He'll delete the file from the corporate drive to save his funding. But he'll keep a copy on a personal drive. We've neutralized the corporate threat, but the personal threat remains. So we're back to square one? No. We forced him to move the asset. Now we know he's panicked. Panicked men make mistakes. The twist came on a Wednesday. I arrived at the house to find the gate open. Not just unlocked open. My stomach dropped. I parked my beat-up sedan next to Ayla's pristine SUV and ran to the front door. Unlocked. Ayla? I found her in the living room. The TV was on. A video was playing. It wasn't the compromising video. It was a video message from Julian. He was sitting at a desk, smiling. Smart move with the insurance, Ayla. You cost me a week of production. But here's the thing about digital files. They multiply. I have a copy, and I'm bored of waiting. I'm not leaking it to the press. I'm sending it to your family. Your mother. Your sister. Unless you meet me tonight. The Starlight Lounge. 8 p.m. Alone. The screen went black. Ayla was sitting on the floor, hugging her knees. My mother is deeply religious, she whispered. It would kill her. Not the act, but the shame. He knows that. He knows it's the one thing I can't spin. I knelt beside her. He's desperate. The insurance ploy hurt him. This is the flailing of a man who's losing control. I have to go, she said. I have to beg him. No. I stood up. You're going to go, but you're not going to beg, he said alone. He said meet him alone. He didn't say you couldn't have eyes on you. I pulled out my phone. I know a guy who manages the Starlight Lounge. He owes me a favor for keeping his name out of a drug bust story 3 years ago. We're going to wire the booth. Wire it? Is that legal? California is a two-party consent state, I admitted. In court, it might get thrown out. But we're not going to court. We're going to the court of public opinion and the court of bond insurers. If we catch him explicitly threatening you on tape extortion, that recording goes to his investors. They won't care about the penal code. They'll care about the PR nightmare. And the video? If he's exposed for extortion, he becomes toxic. He loses his leverage because he loses his platform. She looked up at me. The fear was there, but beneath it was steel. The steel we'd been writing into her character for 8 weeks. I have to act this out, she said. For real this time? For real, I agreed. But I'll be right there. If he moves a muscle toward you, I'm ending it. Screw the story, screw the plan. The Starlight Lounge was dimly lit, smelling of expensive gin and leather. Ayla walked in wearing a red dress armor. She looked every inch the movie star. I was at the end of the bar, nursing a soda. My hat pulled low. I had an earpiece in. The microphone taped under the table in booth 4 was live. Julian arrived 5 minutes late. Power move. He slid into the booth opposite her. You look good, Ayla, I heard him say through the earpiece. Cut the crap, Julian, she said. Her voice was steady. You have something of mine. I want it deleted. I want you in my movie. I'm not doing the movie. Then your mother gets an email in the morning. Is that a threat? Ayla asked clearly. Are you threatening to distribute private sexual images to coerce me into a business contract? Call it what you want, Julian laughed. I call it leverage. You sign, or the video flies. It's a simple transaction. That's extortion. Julian. It's Hollywood, baby. I signaled the bartender my contact. He nodded. At the table, Ayla leaned forward. I'm not signing, and you're not sending anything. Watch me. Julian reached for his phone. That was the cue. I didn't run. I walked, fast, meaningful. I slid into the booth next to Ayla before Julian could unlock his screen. Evening, Julian, I said. He jumped. Who the hell are you? I'm her ghostwriter, I said casually. And currently, a witness. I pointed to the small black dot taped under the napkin dispenser. And that is a microphone. We're live streaming this audio to a cloud server. My server, not yours. Julian's face went pale. You can't record me. That's illegal. Maybe, I said. But Variety won't care about the admissibility statutes. And neither will the bonding agency. You just confessed to extortion on tape. If that leaks, you're uninsurable. Permanently. I leaned in closer. Here's the deal. And you sign a settlement agreement which I have right here stating that if that video ever surfaces, you accept full liability for $10 million in damages. Julian sneered. He held up his phone. You think I'm stupid? I have a dead man's switch. It's scheduled to auto-send to her mother's email in 10 minutes unless I cancel it. If you leak that audio, the video goes out anyway. My stomach dropped. He had anticipated the play. I looked at Ayla. This was it. The script was broken. But Ayla didn't blink. She looked at Julian, studying his face with that same intensity she used to study a script. She looked at his hands, his breathing. You're lying, she said. Julian blinked. Excuse me? You're acting, she said, her voice calm. I know your tell, Julian. When you lie, you tap your left foot. I'm not. There is no auto-send, she said, leaning in. Because you're a control freak. You'd never trust an automated system with your only leverage. You want to push the button yourself. It gives you power. She slammed her hand on the table. Show me the schedule. Open the app and show me the timer. Julian froze. He stared at her. Caught. Delete it, she commanded. Or Evan sends the recording to the bond company right now. Do it, Ayla, I said, holding up my phone, thumb hovering over send. Call it. Julian looked at Ayla. He saw the woman he thought he could break. He saw she was unbreakable. He opened his phone. He navigated to the folder. He hit delete. Then he went to the recently deleted folder and hit delete again. It's gone, he spat. Sign the paper, I said, sliding the document across the table. He signed it with a shaking hand. Now get out, Ayla said. He scrambled out of the booth and disappeared into the night. Ayla sat there for a moment. Then she looked at me. Did we get it? We got it. She didn't smile. She didn't cry. She just reached out and took my hand. Her fingers were cold, but her grip was strong. I held on, my thumb brushing her knuckles. A protective anchor. Let's go home, she said. I have an ending to write. The fallout was quiet. That's how you know you won. Julian went to Europe to scout locations. Hide. The gossip blogs moved on. We finished the book in a week. It was good. Really good. On the last day, I packed up my laptop. The living room felt empty. So, I said, standing by the door. I guess that's it. I'll send the final draft to Gary. Ayla was standing by the fireplace. You're leaving? Job's done. You're safe. Book is written. I have a book launch next month, she said. A reading, at the bookstore downtown. You'll do great. You know how to work a crowd. I don't want to work the crowd alone. She looked at me. I want my partner there. I paused. Ayla, I'm the ghostwriter. I'm supposed to be invisible. And, frankly, the spotlight terrifies me. I like the shadows. It's safe there. I'm tired of invisible things, she said. I want to be seen. With you. The bookstore was packed. Cameras flashed. Ayla sat on the dais, reading from chapter 10. When she finished, the applause was deafening. She waited for it to die down. Then she leaned into the microphone. People keep asking me how I found the courage to write her, she said. She looked out into the crowd. She found me, standing in the back, hiding near the exit sign. I didn't do it alone, she said clearly. I had a co-author. He taught me that the only way to beat a bully is to turn on the lights. She gestured to the back. Evan Williams. Come up here. My heart hammered. This was my nightmare. Exposure. But Ayla was looking at me, and her eyes were pleading. Choose me. I pushed off the wall. I walked down the center aisle. The crowd parted. I walked up the steps. Hi, she whispered, off mic. Hi, I said. She reached out and took my hand in front of everyone. Everyone, she said. This is Evan. He's the one who helped me rewrite the ending. I looked at the crowd, then I looked at her. I squeezed her hand. Best job I ever had, I said. And for the first time, I stepped out of the shadows and let myself be seen. The end. Closing thoughts. Relationships built on drama burn out. Relationships built on safety endure. True love isn't about someone saving you, it's about someone standing beside you while you save yourself. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.